How is everybody doing? Welcome to episode number 59 of the Sounds Like Liberty podcast. I am your host, Nikki P, here as always with my lovely wife and co-host, Lizzie. How are we doing today?
Doing all right.
As always, this episode is featured by the Launchpad Media, always launching ideas in your direction. We have a fun show for you today.
Indeed.
We have an interview with a crypto personality and musician, Tatiana Recommends. But before we get into that, we are going to be talking about some fun stuff, like new music.
Ooh.
And I don't want to point this out, but Trey Parker music.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's not new music. This is old music, but it's funny.
It is amusing.
Anyway, so let's start with our weekly analysis. The song is
Freedom Isn't Free.
What is it if it's not free? Is it expensive?
Well, the song will explain it. Why don't we just dive into those lyrics there?
All right. Why don't you start us off?
What would you do if you were asked to give up your dreams for freedom? What would you do if you were asked to make the ultimate sacrifice?
Well, I know exactly what I would do.
What's that?
I'd ignore that shit.
Okay. I think it depends on how you're defining freedom. Are they talking about like your actual freedom to be an independent person?
I mean, I guess if we're talking in the ANCAP sense of like I'm fighting for my literal freedom, then perhaps. But we know what this song's about, and in that case, yeah, no, fuck that.
Or yeah, are you talking about this vague idea of quote unquote freedom?
You know, am I killing people and
that
you
they
know
suggest, right?
killing brown people to pretend like it's doing something for my freedom?
Something like that, yeah.
You know, taking away someone else's freedom for no discernible value, perhaps.
Right.
Okay, go for it.
Would you think about all them people who gave up everything they had? Would you think about all them war vets? And would you start to feel bad?
No is the quick answer. So, now, if you haven't grasped, so the song is coming across as incredibly jingoist because it's a satirical song. This is from the movie Team America World Police from back in the early aughts. And the whole song is designed to make fun of the basically everyone that I went to high school with, all my little brother's friends. So,
well, I mean, you know, they did tell us all that there was a thing that we should be fighting for, and this is how you fight for it, and you know, military and
hoorah.
Yeah, all that jazz.
So the chorus goes, "The freedom isn't free. It costs folks like you and me. And if we don't chip in, we'll never pay that bill. Freedom isn't free. No, there's a hefty fucking fee. And if you don't throw in your $1.05, who will?" Now, a few things to note in here. If you've looked at the individual share of national debt, $1.05 is far, far less than what we all owe for these wars.
This is true.
I believe what is the last thing I heard is $80,000 per household.
It's a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, I don't think it was at the time Bush was in there, but you know, he escalated spending, and then Obama escalated spending, and then Trump escalated spending.
Yeah, it's just like a snowball. It just keeps getting
it
bigger.
just keeps getting more gigantic than our grandkids have to deal with it. But I do think it is right in this sense. Like, he's talking about giving up your life to go and defend freedom. What the real truth is, there is an actual monetary cost to this that we refuse to foot the bill for. We just keep kicking the can down the road. So, just for the record, some of this analysis I'm actually pulling, we did this on Freedom Song 365 this past week.
Oh.
And, if you haven't signed up, I'd go over there. According to Luke Tatum, we've actually written more words on this crap than the entirety of Fahrenheit 451.
Well, I think there's some value in those
We've literally
words.
written a small book, apparently.
There you go.
So we'll kick to the second verse here. What would you do if someone told you to fight for freedom? Would you answer the call or run away like a little pussy? I can hear Toby Keith singing his lyrics, is the worst part about it. Literally asking someone if he's a pussy. But I digress. Because the only reason that you're here is because folks died for you in the past. So maybe now it's your turn to die kicking some ass. And that's really what it all boils down to. There's no concept of property rights of these people. Like, you do not own yourself. You are just a piece of clay, okay to smash for the sake of fucking whatever cause they deem is worthy. Frankly, it's fucking disgusting. But I mean, you see the way, like, everything, like, both sides, left and right now, like, they treat people like they're completely inconsequential to some greater cause.
Yeah.
It does. It takes another round at the hook. Mm-hmm. And then it ends with the, you don't throw in your $1.05, who will? Ooh, $1.05. Freedom costs $1.05. We should go back at some point and see if those numbers are accurate to to that time period, to the national debt or the percentage of national debt, because I know that how much we owe for the wars is far, far greater than that right now. And we're not even factoring in the inflation that's going to cost when eventually we're no longer the world's reserve currency.
Mm. Yeah, that's a hot mess.
What do you think, Liz?
Well, I think it's clearly satirical. Is it clearly satirical?
Well, based on the fact that they're fairly well-known libertarians.
Okay.
Yeah, Trey Parker and Matt Stone have never, like, I think they're registered Republicans.
Yeah.
Right now, but I think it almost has more to do with the fact that with everything going on in Hollywood, they just wanted to piss people off.
Okay, so that was the least popular thing they could do.
maybe they're just getting more brash and like making maybe going more normie as they get old. That happens.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, but the entire tenor of this movie was that everyone's fucking idiots.
Basically, yeah.
Because I mean, they pick on the left with the whole Film Actors Guild thing just as much as they pick on the dumb Bush tropes. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's an important point to make that, like, nobody's having an honest conversation about any of this. Everyone's just virtue signaling.
Sure. And that is definitely the message of this song is virtue signal America and the troops and all that jazz.
So, I'm going to go full on
you're going to go Eric
July on this.
All right, right on. I can back you up on that one.
Right on. Well, let's see what else we got going on today.
Welcome to I Heard This Happen, the segment for aging hipsters. Each week we scour Bandcamp for underground new releases to wow your teenage children. So without further ado, here's new music.
We have some new music. I want to go first this week. So, I cheated. I didn't actually go out and look for a new record this week at all.
Okay.
I listened to Tom Woods, and he had a bonus episode this week. And I just took the album that they were talking about and promoting on the Tom Woods show.
Well, I mean, if it's a worthwhile album, you're giving it to more of an audience. I don't know if we don't have more of an audience than Tom Woods. Maybe we have a different audience than Tom Woods, so possibly it's still...
I mean, if we have an audience at all, I don't know.
Yeah.
I never hear from you people. You should message us.
Hit us up, yo.
Yo.
What?
You saying yo is just weird.
I know.
All right. So, I have Grand Tour by Big Big Train. They are a progressive rock outfit out of the UK.
Okay.
And the album was released on May 17th, 2019. I mean, it's pretty general prog. The one vocalist sounds an awful lot like Peter Gabriel, which I'm way into. It's very classic prog.
Okay.
In the way that it sounds.
I mean, if Tom Woods is a fan, that's kind of what I'm expecting, so I can dig it.
Like, it has some Yes moments.
Yeah.
There are some instances where it feels like they're trying to get a little bit more modern with the sound.
Okay.
Like the song Alive. And frankly, to me, well, like Tom actually talked about how much he liked the song, and he had a moment that's specifically related to it.
Aww.
It's the weakest song on the album to me because it feels like they're trying too hard to be modern.
Okay.
When really where they really sound great is when they're getting into like the more synth heavy and the more acoustic numbers. So amusingly enough, I just got to get Tom into Polyphia now. That's all I want to do. More people listening to Polyphia.
Nice.
I'm going to pick out Theodora in Green and Gold as my track on the record. Let's see here. Was there anything else that I needed to mention about it? Interestingly enough, one of the things that they were talking about in the Tom Woods episode on it was how much the album is kind of designed to be a tour of Europe.
Okay.
It's very interesting in that all the songs are very, very different in a lot of important ways, especially thematically. For the prog purists, I'm looking at the list of tracks right now, and there's at least 3 songs over 13 minutes long.
Nice.
So they kind of got a little bit for everybody.
Okay.
But yeah, so Grand Tour by Big Big Train out of the UK.
All right.
What do you got, Lucy?
I also picked a non-domestic album this time around.
Liz, do you ever pick domestic albums?
I don't know that I do. This one is from Germany. The artist is Adrian Prath, and the album is The Navigator. I really dug the feel of this one. I was looking for something kind of upbeat and summery and fun, and it is kind of that, but it's also kind of Deathcab and kind of the Smiths and kind of has that feel to it too. So it basically gives me my sad song vibes and my summer music vibes at the same time. Yeah, it's just a really charming record, and I really enjoyed it. So you can check it out on the Bandcamp.
Fancy. Mm-hmm. Right on. Well, there you have it, folks. That's I Heard This Happened.
Hey, how's it going? Nikki P here. Want to support the show or just give a big middle finger to Patreon? Consider stopping over to supportsll.com. Members of the Freedom Choir get access to the private Facebook group and actual physical merch. Want access to the unedited raw interviews as they're recorded way before they're released? It's in there. Is that not enough? And you want membership to Freedom Song 365? It's in there. There's even monthly bonus swag for top tier supporters. So head on over to supportsll.com. Help Liz and I get to libertarian functions and even just cover the costs of making the show. If I'm not a good enough salesman, how about this?
Support my mom and dad and Sounds Like Liberty. Go to supportsll.com.
You heard her, folks. Join the Freedom Choir at supportsll.com.
So, this one's been sitting in our stable for a while.
It was a very different interview, but I mean, just really cool person. I was excited that we had her on because we don't have a lot of people coming from where she's coming from.
Well, I mean, I could say that I could just patronize and say that it was specifically about virtue signaling that we need to change our demographics.
But it wasn't. We just thought she was cool.
You thought she was cool. I'm over here making cold, calculating decisions.
Okay, right on.
I jest. If that were the case, we would have aired the episode a lot sooner.
I guess.
I took them as they came in, folks. Anyways, this is our interview with Tatiana Moroz, crypto personality and musician extraordinaire.
Enjoy.
It's my New Jersey coming out early on.
There you go. I'm okay with that.
So New Jersey, huh? Where at in New Jersey?
I grew up first in Clifton and then in Wayne.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, and now I live closer to the city. So yeah, it's I don't know. I'm not here a lot of the time. I do a lot of traveling, and I also grew up going to Poland a lot, so I don't feel completely New Jersey. But there is definitely, when you're angry, New Jersey comes out. Not angry, but like any kind of like negative emotion, it's like the Jersey has like, do I need to show up? Do I need to do something? It's like simmer down.
I'm going to be honest. I think that's just the northeast of America
In general.
Like, I'll be honest. I get a Brooklyn accent when I'm like drinking and like kind of in the mood. I've never been to Brooklyn. I have
my father's from there.
relationship to the New York City whatsoever.
Right.
And I think I just watched too many old Dago movies when I was a kid. Lots of mob movies.
Oh,
So-
well, I'm actually Sicilian, so I think I don't really look very Sicilian, but I am.
Yeah, we're the Naples people. That's where my family comes from.
Oh, that's nice. I
There
think
you
I
go.
was just there not long ago. Anyway,
Yeah.
cool.
So, anyways, well, welcome to the Sounds Like Liberty podcast. We have Tatiana Moroz today. Is that how you pronounce it? I believe that's how I've heard it.
Tatiana Moroz.
Nice.
Awesome. And she is a musician and I would say Bitcoin activist. Does that sound about right? How would you describe yourself?
Well, so I'm driven by liberty in all things that I do, and every kind of thing that I'm involved with sort of feeds this ecosystem, I guess. So I have my music, and then I have my podcast, The Tatiana Show, and then I have a marketing and PR company in the crypto space, so that takes up a fair amount of time. And then I advise on a few different projects as well.
Interesting.
And then I'm always speaking and performing still. So there's a lot of stuff that I do.
Wow.
But I think that, I don't know, what am I, like a professional activist? I don't think that's true because I own a business and stuff. And now I have a new podcast. So we're talking about relationships, which is a little bit like the blind leading the blind. But it's still fun. My co-host would not agree with me there, but I think it can be a little bit sometimes. So we've been having a lot of fun. So yeah.
Who's your
I'm-
co-host? I'm curious now.
So do you guys ever listen to Let's Talk Bitcoin or Stephanie Murphy? She lives in the Free State Project and she's been on Free Talk Live. And she had this thing called Pork Therapy and Sex and Science Hour.
Okay.
And she's always on Let's Talk Bitcoin. So people, I don't know. Do you guys know her? Have you heard of her?
I'm not a cryptosphere guy. I need to, and it's just I'm
Well,
new.
she's
I'm
very
new to liberty.
libertarian-y.
Yeah.
And I thought that you might have that crossover there.
No, not quite yet. We're trying to figure out the crypto thing. We're not into
In
it
general, like I honestly only came to this whole movement. I think like probably 4 years ago, I started listening to the podcast and stuff, and we've been doing this for a little over a year now. So we're still very new, and there's a whole what's funny is that I've noticed since I've been in, like it's not necessarily that it's cliquey, but everybody kind of finds their bubble. And sometimes it's difficult to get out of those bubbles and get into the other circles of people that kind of hang out with these people and then they hang out with these people. And like you'll have like places where they touch, but they're like literally like every day I'll find out there's a new podcast that's been going on for over a year. And you're like, how do I not know about this podcast that someone's been doing for a year? You'd think that everyone would be talking about it. And
Yeah.
it's not like that. It's weird.
Well, social media is very
Insular.
controlled. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's really helping. I think it used to be a better source of information, and now there's just, I don't know, it seems like a lot of spammy stuff. Yeah. But,
I'm really excited to
modern
get you on this
times.
show then, because we can learn more about the whole circle that you're in. That's awesome.
oh, yeah.
So how exactly did you personally, find yourself in the whole liberty movement thing? You can be brief. I'm sure you've given this story a million times.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's probably new people that are listening in. So I started out, like I said, I'm from New Jersey, and my mom is from Poland and my dad is from Brooklyn. So I don't feel like they were particularly statist, which is nice and refreshing, but they weren't overtly into it. Anywho, sorry, I thought that my internet. You guys are still hearing me, right?
I still hear you.
Okay, cool. No, because I like to connect with Ethernet, and the Wi-Fi thing, I just shut it down, so it'll definitely come through nice and clear. Anyway, so I grew up reading a lot of dystopian novels, and then also my mom would play a lot of 60s and 70s singer-songwriters for me. And I got the idea early on through Cat Stevens' Peace Train and some other songs, but that song specifically kind of sticks out, that you could use music to convey an idea and an emotion, and you can create a bond with people, and how powerful that was. You know, I recognized that really early on. And, you know, if you read a bunch of dystopian novels, you kind of have the eye out going forward thinking, all right, where are the similarities to, 1984, for example. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up going to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and I disconnected from modern music because I felt like it became the Britney Spears world, and that wasn't something that I identified with. And I continued to educate myself, watching documentaries, and I read a lot. And then when I got out of Berklee, I came and started working at all these major recording studios in New York, and I saw a lot of problems in the music industry. I was also at the same time starting to get more politically active. So I was a big fan of Dennis Kucinich in 2008. And at the same time, Ron Paul was out, and I thought, well, Ron Paul isn't so bad, but why doesn't he like the EPA, or why doesn't he like, anything like universal health care, right? He's a doctor. Doesn't he care about people? But either way, election came and went. And around 2011, I learned about the Federal Reserve. And it was as if it was the battle I had been looking for in my entire life. And I saw the Federal Reserve as this very clear enemy in central banking in general that empowered the war machine. And all of these things that were frustrating in society basically started and ended with this endless amount of printing ability by governments. So basically that's been scary for me. And then I got involved doing music for the Ron Paul movement because I had seen a video by Amy Allen, and she had been talking on Alex Jones. Did you guys ever see this thing?
I have. I don't know. I don't know that Liz has.
I don't know that I have.
Amy Allen's from the Interrupters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Amy Allen was, because you have to remember, this is like late 2011, early 2012. I was thinking maybe I could write some music about this because I had seen her write in an article, leave me alone. I'm not just going to write Liberty songs. I'm like, well, maybe I can write one. But then I saw her do this interview with Alex Jones, and essentially she had this very mysterious situation where she got beaten up, and it seemed kind of suspicious if you're into conspiracy theories. But regardless, it was very, very traumatic for her. And there were a lot of indications that it was due to her political views. And, when you see her talking about getting beaten to death and then hearing about how she, went and did the rally anyway. And it's just so, anytime I talk about it, I get choked up, right? And it was such an inspiring moment for me because I thought, look at what she did in order to believe in this. And so it was sort of like a commitment moment for me.
The thing that I really, really want to point out to like listeners in this who don't know anything about Amy Allen, I come from the punk scene, which is kind of where Amy's fame.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
And let's just say anyone who has any kind of a capitalist or non-straight communist bent is not welcome in that community. And yeah, there's so many different angles and places that attack could have come from, and it's galling to me.
I don't know. I feel like in the story when she told it to Alex Jones, if I recall it correctly, people can check it out online. She said that, oh shoot, I lost where I was going to go with that.
Interdimensional beings, that's where Alex would take it.
Oh, no. Well, she was saying that she had gotten a call from like either the CIA or the FBI to her label being like, take down her song. And she said no. And then, a couple days later, Mexican gang members, quote unquote,
right,
beat her up, and they didn't beat up the other girls, and they just kept beating her head with a crowbar. It was, I can't even talk about it. It was disgusting.
Yeah.
So I don't know. She's amazing. So
Yes.
cool. And an inspiration. And actually I met her on my best day ever. I declared this the best day ever. It was Adam Kokesh had a veterans march, the Veterans Support Ron Paul, and it was like President's Day or something in cold February in DC. We're freezing. And I met her there. And then from that gig on, I guess it was a gig, rally, whatever, I performed there. And from there on, I kind of got to meet all these different amazing people, and I got to sing all around the country. But then after seeing what happened with the Ron Paul movement, in terms of the efficacy of the electoral process, I mean, it was basically a joke. Plus, the media was just completely blacking him out. It was terrible. Even though there were thousands of people going. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, were there, right?
Absolutely not. I had.
Oh, I'm sorry you missed it. It was an amazing time in politics. So fun.
Yep.
I'm sure.
It would make you believe in America. It was so beautiful. Left, right, people, peace, love, all this good stuff. It was wonderful.
I've heard plenty of stories.
Yeah.
The fabled days of the Ron Paul Revolution.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I came in when all the infighting was prime. I don't know that I would have been okay with the peace and love. That sounds like it would have not sat well with my natural contrarian nature of people getting along.
Yeah.
I like the battle.
It was lovely. No, I mean there was, if you want battles, there's bigger battles to be won than among ourselves.
For sure.
Yeah. So then after that, I was sponsored by BitPay, which is a Bitcoin processing company based in Atlanta or something. But anyway, they're huge. And Tony Gillespie and Stephen Pear, they came to New York and they told me all about Bitcoin. And I was so bored when they told me about it. They spent over, I don't know, probably like 2 or 3 hours we spent together. We went to lunch and they just kept trying to convince me of the value. And I was like, but why do I want alpaca socks? And then they ended up getting me to buy at least, some. I bought, for $11, a few. I mean, what do I have? I'm a musician. I don't have extra money, but I had a little bit. And so I bought it. And so when it went up, I was like, oh, this doesn't suck that bad. And when Jeffrey Tucker told me about it, he made it in a way that it wasn't about the tech. It was in a way that it made you envision what crypto and Bitcoin could be in the world.
Yeah. And
it was so inspiring. So I wrote a Bitcoin jingle because I thought to myself, if I know that the Federal Reserve is my arch enemy, I'm pretty smart. I'm not like the smartest person in the world, but I'm not like total idiot. And these really smart guys who were very good speakers and everything, they still couldn't get me into it based on the Federal Reserve argument. There had to be a different way to appeal to people. And so I wrote the Bitcoin jingle and I performed it at the first ever Latin American Bitcoin conference down in Buenos Aires. And it was a big hit. It was super cool because this was right when Bitcoin was pumping. It was like $1,000. Everybody was going nuts. It's Latin America, which is an amazing place where Bitcoin can actually give you something. And I found a light and I don't know, a sense of purpose when I found Bitcoin, especially after being so disappointed with the political process, in terms of the ability to use it to have positive impact in the world.
Interesting.
That's very cool.
Somebody's been spending time as a public speaker, I can tell.
Oh, you know what? I actually have been doing more speaking stuff, which I never did that. I just did music.
Singer-songwriter thing.
Right. I mean, but, when I did the coin, people wanted to hear about that because, it's like a world first. So that's fun. And I don't know. And plus, I think when you talk about cryptocurrency, when you loop it in with music, I think it makes it more palpable for people because, I don't know. I mean, you need to bring heart into it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think part of the reason why, more people aren't really up on it is because it does sound so technical the way most people describe it.
And all sales is emotion.
Yeah, I never heard that phrase. I'm listening to that Seth Godin book, This Is Marketing. Did you guys ever listen to that?
I have not. It is on my long list of marketing books.
I would put it on your longer list. I'm not so impressed. It's like
okay.
The guy talks like this. And maybe it's because he's in an audiobook, but he's not doing anything to make me believe.
Well, I listened to all audiobooks at 1.75%.
Me too.
So I have to, so it would speed that up a little bit. Yeah.
I did. Yeah, that it helped. It definitely helped. But then his voice, it's not as pleasant of a timbre, and it wasn't particularly wonderful to start with. Anyway, random tangent. Sorry.
No, you're fine. So let's get into the stuff I like talking to people about, which is you and what your thoughts on music are. Let's start with let's start with the soundtrack question.
Okay.
So, do you have a moment that you is attached to a specific song or piece of music? Could be an album. Some people, it's just they have a time period that like is kind of attached to an album or something like that. Like I used to listen to this at this time.
Like, do I have a favorite record?
No. Like, so if you have a specific memory that's attached to a song, I guess is the simple way of asking it.
Not offhand. I don't know. I feel like I'm unprepared for this question. I don't know.
Fair enough.
This could be an interesting interview.
I mean, we could
I've been-
backtrack to where we usually start, which is what kind of music do you like?
So what I find challenging about new music, which I wish that I listened to, is the way that it's delivered to me.
Okay.
I find that I'm constantly inundated with a lot of information, and a personal goal for me is to like trim that all down. Mm-hmm. What I loved about the radio is that the radio used to serve as a filter, and it would bring you some good songs. I mean, there was always programming on there, but you know, there was still hope of stuff. Now you've got Spotify and all these other things, and they deliver music to you, and it's just like a big blob. And I don't have time to see who's cool and what's cool and stuff. I like personal recommendations better.
Yeah.
That's why you should be listening to our show. I give people recommendations every episode.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll have to tune in then. I found this artist LP, who I guess had been out for a few years now.
ELP?
No, just LP.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think if she's not trans, she's like going very gender neutral. She's amazing. She's got this blues, real singer-songwriter. I mean, she's really, really great. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I love this record that she put out. I didn't know she has a new record. See, I wouldn't have known that had I not been on the show. This is so exciting.
That's awesome.
I would encourage people to check her out. I have this friend, Megan Wright, in New York, and I think that she's just wonderful. So I'm not home often, and when I'm home, I don't want to go out because I've been out on the road and I'm antisocial. But she's really, really cool, and she works with a lot of really good artists. So, yeah, Megan Wright in New York. Megan B. Wright or something. I don't remember.
Awesome.
That's cool.
She would be mad about that. Anyway, she's wonderful. And other than that, though, I mean, I love Stevie Wonder. I still love Cat Stevens.
We actually talked about Peace Train a couple episodes ago when we were doing an analysis section. We'll pick like a song that has some kind of political agenda, and we'll rate it from, what is it, Bob Dylan to Eric July is our scale. And I believe we gave that one an Eric July, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did.
Just because the anti-war message is so strong in it.
So which one is the...
Oh, Bob Dylan is the commie. I love Dylan.
Oh, that's your rating? Oh my God. All right. I was totally confused by this.
Essentially, it's Bob Dylan is commie, Eric July, full on like libertarian ANCAP message, and then Lou Bega's in the middle, which means it's
not going to sway you either way, but it's fun to listen to.
Pop crap, perhaps.
All right.
Where do we normally go from here, Liz? You're the organized one.
So, where does music fit into your life now? I mean, obviously you're
clearly you're very
artist,
busy. So,
I think that's a good question because I think it's a struggle when you're trying to do a lot of things, and I've always kind of gone. I don't know. I think it's hard to tell what you should prioritize because when the house is burning, you can't start, making the bed or something, right? Even though the bed needs to be made or doing the laundry or whatever it is that you need to get done. For me, music comes out in little bits all the time. and I have ideas and stuff all the time, but to be able to focus on it and to record and to also have the resources, like the extra resources that are needed in order to do that at the level that I want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't always end up being as much of a priority as I want. And in the upcoming months, I have been traveling nonstop pretty much for almost 6 or 7 years now. And for the next few months, I don't think I have to go anywhere. So I'm looking forward to getting into the studio more, because I have basically half a record demoed out. And it's not that hard once we get into the studio. My engineer and producer, Will Hensley, he's amazing. He's works with tons and tons of great artists, but he doesn't like them as much as he likes me. I'm his favorite. Anyway, I don't think that's necessarily true. I'm just making it up and inferring it. But I did pay him in Bitcoin when we did Keep the Faith. So I am his favorite client. So anyway, I don't know. I think I'll be doing some music. And I did this jingle for the new podcast, Proof of Love, and it sounds sort of like a Cyndi Lauper thing. And my friend that I did that with, I think we'll get to do a little bit more writing over the upcoming months too. So I don't know. I'm prioritizing content at the moment, which is fun.
No,
way
absolutely.
more fun than other things.
I mean, it's still creative.
But yeah, for me, it's always like the minute I got into the whole podcasting thing, the minute I found podcasts, it pushed out a lot of even my music consumption, and I just listened to a lot of people talking anymore. And so I had to kind of fight to take back even the place of listening to music, let alone writing music. I think the most recent thing I wrote the other day, a song for Brian McWilliams over at Lions of Liberty. He has a show about a superhero that's does nothing. That's his thing. He stays out of everybody's business and lets what happened will happen. And I wrote him a folk ballad, because every superhero needs a folk ballad, right?
Yeah.
So, cool. What do you think, Liz?
Do you go to live music shows? Is that?
I mean, she's on the road constantly.
Well,
I'd be surprised at this one.
She's playing live music shows. So
no, but you know what? I'm gonna put that on my to-do when I get settled in. So my schedule kind of is basically I'm antisocial for about 10 days before and after. There's some level of anxiety around it, and during that time period, I'm very hesitant to go anywhere. And if I'm gonna go somewhere, I want to see my family and my friends.
I should have you on.
I don't care about new people.
I should have you on my other podcast, The Introvert Musician.
Oh, I don't know if that's me, because I'm not that introverted when I'm ready to deal with people.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I think
you can't think about being around people all the time. Even the most extroverted person is going to be like, "Oh my God, get away from me, everybody!" You need some peace and quiet.
Yeah. Okay, but so do you have a favorite concert you've ever been to, or that's so far in the past?
Yes,
I can't even.
I have several concerts I've been to that I've enjoyed. I really liked Prince. I thought he was probably the best show I've ever seen, and that was in MSG in New York.
Oh, good God, that's a show.
Yeah, and Tuck and Patty were really, really freaking good. My first concert I went to was Pink Floyd, which was a long time ago.
Are you old enough to have seen Pink Floyd?
Well, my mom took me when I was very small, so Anyway, the point is that I don't know. I've seen some good. Who put on a really good show as an adult was Cyndi Lauper.
I'd believe
she was fantastic, unbelievable, so good. But I regret that Cat Stevens came through town. I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, and the tickets were like $250, and I just didn't have the extra money. I mean, I suppose I could have done something to make it happen, but I was like, no, you have to be responsible. That responsible person is a jerk. I should have gone, and that was a foolish move. But if he comes back to town, I definitely want to go see him.
I can't imagine I'm imagining New York City is kind of where your shows would be, and I imagine those shows have to be so expensive because it's New York City. I can imagine that.
I mean, I don't know. I don't.
Shows are expensive, and I live in Cleveland.
Artists to go. What artists am I going to go see? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't even know who I would go and check out necessarily, because I don't have the time to kind of search for cool stuff like that. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Honestly, and that's what's always funny is I find that musicians actually almost have less of an idea what's going on in music than like the average person, just because when you're involved in that the artistry of it anyways, you're so involved in what you're doing that it's kind of difficult to pay attention to what anybody else is doing. And then you add to that like the busyness of all the other stuff that you do. I'd be surprised if you've listened to music ever at this point.
Yeah, I gotta get off Facebook, man. Like, I have to be on these sites because, first of all, I like them. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, man, it's such a time suck. I gotta get off the plantation.
Oh, I got to put one of those little apps in my phone now so I can't log in until a certain point in time in the day because I got to do some stuff in the morning, and I just want to sit on Facebook and chat with all people. So, okay, Liz, we're moving along here. What else we got?
Well, if we're skipping the soundtrack question, then I think that brings us on back to our big question.
I'm curious if she can answer this one.
Which is a good question.
Okay, well, we'll give it a go. We'll see what she's got. If you had 5 albums to recommend to people, they don't necessarily need to be your favorite, just 5 things you think everyone should listen to, what would they be and why?
Oh, this is a wonderful question. I love mixtapes and the idea of sharing records and playing stuff for people. Mm-hmm. So I haven't read the allegations against him, so I'm not commenting on that at all.
I know who she's bringing up.
From a purely musical perspective, Ryan Adams is like a freaking god.
Mm-hmm.
Of our generation, I think he's just fantastic. His Heartbreaker album is just magical. The Sweet Carolina song on there is good. The Winding Wheel song is good. He's got tons of stuff. Amy, this isn't my top 5 of all time because that's a pretty high bar, but offhand,
oh no, I get it. That changes.
Amy
every
Allen's
5 minutes.
Happiness is so good. It's really, really an amazing record. She's got really good stuff on there, but I love Jeff Buckley very, very much. So Grace is a fantastic thing, and it was very, very sad to have lost him.
Yeah,
I remember. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's actually shocking to me that we haven't had Jeff Buckley on a top 5 yet.
It is kind of surprising.
People are fools.
I love him.
They should. Oh my God, Jeff Buckley's. I mean, when I first heard of Jeff Buckley, I had heard about him from my friends, and they literally started crying at a party about it. I was like, what's wrong with you guys?
His entire life story is intense. Like he's somebody I'm surprised there hasn't been a biopic about yet because the story is so good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that there actually have been some things made, but I don't know. It's a good story. It's like a hard thing to say. It's a tragic story.
Well,
that's
yes,
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, I'm a big fan of his, and now I understand why people wept when they mentioned him.
Yeah.
Who else? I mean, I don't know. Anything with Stevie Wonder pretty much is amazing and so uplifting to humanity. So I think people should listen to that, or like Motown music, I think is always good.
Do you have a favorite Motown artist other than Stevie Wonder?
I mean, Otis Redding is great. Sam Cooke is wonderful. Al Green, you can choose a lot of people, but then you've got like Nina Simone or Billie Holiday.
Yeah.
Do you believe Sam Cooke was taken out by the feds?
I've never speculated on that. Didn't they say that his dad like killed him or something, or he killed his dad or something?
From what I understand, it was a crazed fan broke into his dressing room and murdered him as he was getting out of the shower. Is the story.
That's very sad and scary.
It also sounds not real at all, and the kind of thing you would say for trying to cover up a murder.
Well, I mean, so when I hear about MK Ultra and all that stuff, I kind of zone out because I don't feel like thinking about all the random facts to decide if it's real or not. But I'm pretty sure that there was definitely stuff like that going on, so I'm not ruling it out. I think that John Lennon, more likely, in my opinion, would be a candidate for government takeout. I believe that MLK was taken out by the government. I don't put it past them, but I don't know the Sam Cooke situation. What was he doing that was so terrible?
Change is
Or-
going to come, if nothing else.
My God, that song was as if God himself was singing. I love that song. I've actually tried to cover it in varying levels of success, just at home, just because it's so beautiful. I've probably done it a couple times.
I avoid it strictly because of there's certain songs that I feel really weird about being a white guy trying to perform. That would be one of them. The other one is Tennessee by what do you call?
Yeah.
My Jason, your guy Jason's in the band. Arrested Development, Tennessee.
Yeah.
I feel I love the song, but it would be super weird to cover because I really, really tied into the black experience, and I'm like, what the. But
people have feelings about it.
If you ever want to like really, really feel, I'm not gonna say it's as good as Sam Cooke's version, but it's a close second. Is Corey Glover of Living Color. There's a video of him doing an a cappella version of that song on YouTube that's just mind blowing. Like,
I'm gonna look him up.
Oh my God, I get chills just thinking about how much he kills that song, and it's just listening to him do it a cappella is incredible. Yeah, sorry, I'm geeking out.
No worries, I'll give it a shot.
So, well, one last thing I personally wanted to kind of hear about, because this is interesting to me. Give me the whole Tatiana coin thing in a nutshell.
So when you're an artist, it's very difficult to have a living because music costs money to make if you want to do it a certain way, unless you have a band that you happen to have that's amazing that you knew from high school or something. It's generally, it's a profession that has some costs and stuff associated with it. Mm-hmm. And the main things that I find that are challenging for artists are for just a sustainable career. We're not talking about Beyonce level, but really it does apply to Beyonce and any kind of major level artist, is fans and funding. How do you eat, right? How do you make sure that you have enough money to do your stuff? And how do you make sure that you're not playing to the bartender, your mom, and, whatever, like 3 people in the audience, right? Mm-hmm. So with social media, you had the ability for people to connect, and they could connect for free. But it turns out that we're the product in that situation. So you don't own the relationship that you have with somebody on Facebook, because Facebook could put you in Facebook jail. They can censor your account. They could censor what you're seeing. They can change your mood with those weird experiments that they were conducting on people. And this is sort of the eventual corruption of all of these kinds of things. And then on the funding side, if you take money from a record label, they control your message. And I would posit that the reason why we don't have a lot of anti-war music is because the government and Hollywood are friends. They don't want us to make anti-war music, because the last time that happened, there was a lot of political unrest in the country. So if you can improve on the Indiegogo Kickstarter model, so you have a fundraiser, you want to do an album. Normally, you would just get donations, and then people would get a T-shirt, and then that's basically the end of the interaction. But if you do a Tatiana coin, you now have a token that allows you to be permanently connected directly to your audience. They can give you money toward your endeavors, and you can reward them with access to you, sort of like almost as if Patreon and Facebook type stuff mixed together, and like some Indiegogo and then like a Twitch element. Because then what ended up happening was, after we made Tatiana coin with the idea of really putting the fan and the artist directly in contact and giving them control over their merchandise and all of their empire, it was like we had a car and we didn't have any roads. So then we ended up making a company called Token.fm. And so that's one of the things that that ended up resulting, because all this stuff is so new. So you can have a vision of what it'll look like, but you actually have to build it. And that's been a pretty long process, but very rewarding, I think. So
awesome.
That's super interesting.
It is super interesting, especially as a musician who's quite poor.
Yeah, well, I used it to fund my third album, Keep the Faith. And what I did was, on the album cover, I used artwork from my friend Ross Ulbricht, who's in prison, obviously, for double life for the Silk Road trial, even though it was all nonviolent crimes. I think that they're saying that El Chapo is going to get a lighter sentence than him, which is crazy. But anyway, so Ross did the artwork from prison, and it was really just a present for me. But that's what I chose to use on the record, so I could talk to people about, look, artists can't take contentious positions. And I think that the drug war is definitely a right-left thing. You know, I think everybody thinks the drug war is out of control. So I don't know. I think it's interesting from a funding perspective, but what I think makes it more interesting is that it enables free expression and freedom of speech among artists.
Yeah.
Which, when the music industry acts like a cartel and they control how people listen to music, you know, you need to have a way of having a sustainable relationship with your fan base.
Well, and just for the record, for all those people who think that didn't used to be the case, it did. That's always been how the music industry has worked in America, for sure. I mean, that's why.
Yeah, but we can do better now.
Oh, no, exactly.
That's what's amazing about these times, you know? It's really super fun.
I was trying to use it as a means to really push out there exactly how groundbreaking this idea is. You know, you don't need to be Sinatra tied in with the mob anymore. There's ways to take control of yourself.
I didn't know he was tied in with the mob.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I should have gotten the memo, the mobster memo.
No, it's, I mean, in general, even like with the Motown thing, there's a whole lot of shiesty stuff there. But that's a whole lot of history that could take forever to get into.
But yeah, so let's get some plugs out there so we can all learn about this really awesome stuff, because I would like to know more about that. That's really cool.
She has a giant page.
Good.
She has a giant page of notes over here. That's not entirely normal.
Oh, well, I have. Oh, that's exciting. I'm happy to hear it. I've put in quite a lot of time, and that doesn't always correlate to money, and that can be a little bit disheartening, right? Because everybody struggles, especially after last year. I mean, you know, I'm thankfully still not as broke as I was when I was a musician, but still, it's when you have a taste of the good life, it's not as fun on the way down. But that being said, I do think that I've managed to surround myself with really amazing people. And, you know, Proof of Love Cast is the new podcast that I'm doing. So I'd love for people to go there. If people are interested in the music project, they can go to token.fm or my website, tatianamoroz.com. And I also have the tatianashow.com, and Crypto Media Hub is my marketing company. So I'm there. There's lots of Tatiana all over the internet. You can find me.
Awesome. And I'm going to have to get in touch with you on a couple more of your songs at some point here for the Freedom
be great.
Freedom Song 365, because especially if I have
I have like histories of songs, so I can definitely give you some insight, at least as to one.
And what, if you're interested, what we actually do is I send out, like me, Sherry Voluntary, and my buddy Luke Tatum, we actually send out an email every day, and we look at one song with a libertarian message, or at least some kind of lesson to be gleaned for liberty activists. And we used your song Silk Road this past week. And I know that we have a couple others that are slated to kind of be talked about. And then when I have the access to the musician, I love to kind of get like the behind the scenes info to put out there whenever possible. So I'd be excited to talk to you about that at some point.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. We could definitely do a follow-up and talk about a different song or two. That sounds good.
Awesome. Well, it's been awesome having you on, Tatiana, and thank you very much.
Thanks so much, guys. I had a great time.
All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed that interview. We have a special treat coming for you later this week. We had the pleasure of sitting down with Mr. Arvin Vohra.
Indeed. Presidential
candidate who has caused a bit of a kerfluffle here in my state of Ohio.
He starts conversations, we'll say that.
And you know how I am. I like to end conversations. Anyways, folks, so this Saturday, look out for our interview with Arvin Vohra. It's going to be a little different than normal. We talk music a little bit, but mostly it's just me getting into all the questions I've ever wanted to ask. One of the most audacious, non-audacious members of the Libertarian Party. So keep your eyes peeled.
Your